All right, so we were expecting weapon frames to basically be done by now. They're not done, so let's go to the factory and figure out how we can move these things a bit faster. All right, so in the factory here, I was not able to take videos of any of the processes. It's all top secret, but we've got the whole team here to figure out how we can speed things up. So wish us luck in this meeting. We got a couple months cut off of our production time here, looking like end of September to get frames finished here if there's no issues along the way, and we're gonna take some video of some of our here. Got an EPS mold, so it's like styrofoam covered in rubber. This all gets coated with sheets of carbon fiber. Check this out. Now we've also got this mold. As we build it, we stick the frame in the mold, and finally, once everything is there, we've got vacuum tubes on the end here. We've got a big steel mold. It weighs 1.5 tons, so 3,000 pound steel mold. The frame goes in there. It goes under high heat, about 300 degrees Fahrenheit. Suck all the air out. Add some resin, glue, epoxy. This is your finished front triangle of the frame. Pretty amazing right there. So this will go through a little bit more work before it gets painted. It's more sanding to smooth everything down. It gets painted, and then it gets into their beautiful weapon. So this is our small size mold right here, and it's in the oven. It's hot. We're not going to touch it. There's a frame inside of there. Basically, each frame gets cooked here. 300 plus degrees. It's 180 degrees Celsius. You can do the math on that, but really cool. Big heat transfer oven. So this mold is brand new, first time out of the oven. Nothing inside of it, no frame. It's a cleaning process. So heat it up. It's already been CNC to make the mold. They heat it up to super high heat. Thank you. 非常感谢. Thank you. 非常感谢. 好，等我微信聊。好，不再耽误你时间了。拜拜。有什么需要的联系我们，好吗？有什么需要？ China was a big success, and here's a quick breakdown of the timeline we're looking at right now. The factory has completed molds for each of the bike sizes, small, medium, large. It's the same frame between the Weapon and the Weapon X. However, before mass production, each of those frames need to be extensively tested. One thing I was really impressed with at this factory is that every single frame, not just 1 out of 10, not 1 out of 100, but every frame that gets built goes through extensive testing. After it's completed, it goes through stress testing. A load is applied to it, make sure it can't bend or warp outside of a certain very strict tight tolerance. The reason for that is you don't want this bike to get to you and have an issue with the frame. That's the most important part of the bike, so it is heavily tested before it gets to you. Medium frame has completed the full testing. The small and large still need to go through that testing. The medium is being sent this week to our assembly factory. They will put on all the production components. There have been a few tweaks on those components since our original campaign. So they're putting on all the components with the tweaks to the frames, tweaks to the components to make sure that there's no issues with any fitment or anything that when we get to the mass production could slow things down. So make sure everything is perfect there. They will confirm that later once the small and large frames complete their extensive testing for the frame. Those will go to the factory for a production assembly as well. It's kind of a pilot assembly. Those will be green lighted as well for the mass production. There's a small batch production run scheduled for each of the 3 sizes for the end of June. And what that is they actually go take it on the line. They're assembling each of the frames. They're just making sure that for mass assembly, there's no issues with, for example, the carbon pieces, making sure that the flow of the assembly works and there's no issues that are going to slow it down. The factory can make, with each mold, 3 to 4 frames per day. So mass production is scheduled between July, August, and September of these frames. Every single frame, once it gets built, cooked, sanded down, painted, all that will go through another extensive testing process. You kind of take them, test them for hours, run them through stress testing, make sure it won't crack, it won't stress, or won't bend out of a certain shape tolerance under load, which could cause your bike to break. That's it for this update. I understand the timeline here, getting into September for mass production of the frames probably isn't something that a lot of people are going to love, especially when the initial estimates were summer of this year for delivery. That's just where production is at. There are a lot of variables in the process, and we would rather take a little bit more time to do it absolutely right and give you the best bike ever than to just slap it together. It probably could have been done by now if it was slapped together and sent to you without all the testing, confirmations, etc. We're going to do it right though. So thank you for your patience. This bike is going to be well worth the wait, and stay tuned for the next update.